Hi, everyone. Welcome to week six. Week six of the Rocky Resolutions Challenge. You guys are officially well past the halfway mark and we are cruising to the finish line. At least I hope you guys feel like that. I hope you feel like things are getting to be a little bit easier and these habits are starting to feel like they're sticking. But I wanted to save this conversation, this lesson toward the end, because this is when things might start feeling like they're getting a little bit hard, or we start to feel like we're kind of like getting a little comfortable and then challenges start to arise. So I wanted to make sure we talk about this now to give you some really strategic ways to address obstacles or challenges as they come up. So we're going to really take the emotion out of things and look at some really strategic proven ways to address and overcome those challenges. All right. So I'm going to talk fast. If you guys have questions as we're going through this, like please bring them to the group chat in the Nudge apps, because this is a big topic and I'm going to go fast. So let's keep the conversation going in there afterward. All right. So quick recap of weeks 1 through 5, and then looking forward, not just for week 6, but what's next? What do we do for the rest of the challenge? And then looking forward. So you have new workouts in the app. Last week, you received your new metabolic workouts, your new phase of metabolic workouts. If you have not already started those, go ahead and skip to the next phase, get started with the new ones. You may have time at the very end of the challenge to go back and complete any of the workouts that you've not already done, but let's go ahead and everyone skip forward if you've not already done so. And if you do not have a customized workout plan with me and you're doing the challenge workouts, that is called quote unquote the program in the Bridge app, you also have new workouts this week. So if you're not sure how to scroll forward to the next phase in the Bridge app, go and look at the game plan card for this week. And I put in some screenshots of exactly how to do that. And moreover, if you guys are not reading the game plan cards every week, they change every week. So make sure you're taking 3 minutes out of your day to read through those and make sure that you have all the information to make sure that you're successful week to week. All right. Just a quick reminder about the workouts. You should be challenging yourself every week. You should be striving to push yourself a little bit more each time you do a new workout. So if you feel like things are starting to get comfortable, it's time to step it up a little bit, all right? You're stronger than you think, so don't worry about pushing yourself. You may want to think about increasing your weights, maybe increasing your reps, maybe slowing down your tempo. Even if you don't have heavier weights, slow down your tempo to increase the time under tension and make it more challenging, all right? So make sure that you are pushing yourself every single workout, especially here moving forward, to create that stimulus for your muscles to have to build back stronger. And that's what we want, build back more lean muscle to burn more calories at rest and get you that lean athletic body that you want. On the nutrition side, we are taking a pause on adding more nutrition lessons this week. You have learned so much over the past 5 weeks. This week, I just want you to focus on implementing. So if you maybe missed one of the lessons in the past 5 weeks, or you just want to go back and revisit them, this is the week to do so. This is implementation week. So we're taking a little pause on adding more to your plate and just focusing on implementing, all right? And then looking forward. So next week, week 7, we're going to be getting on our jeans again. All right. So week 7, we're going to do another check-in. We're going to try on the jeans again. We're going to remeasure and see where you're at in your progress before we get to the end of week 9. So get ready for that. That'll happen at the end of next week. And then you might be wondering, like, well, what's happening after the challenge? After the 9 weeks are up, then what? I will be sharing some information with you next week at our live call about what you can do to continue this process past the 9 weeks so you can continue to either maintain or see further progress after the challenge is done. Okay, so make sure you're on the call next week or listen to the replay for more information on that. And I will also be sharing on that call the winner of the consistency prize for the first half of the challenge. So if you have been completing all your workouts, if you've been turning in your weekly reflections, if you've been turning in your journals, you've turned in all your photos from the measurements, you are in the running. So make sure you're on that call to find out if you won. Today, we're talking about overcoming barriers. Again, we're going to take the emotion out of this. This is a very emotionally fueled thing, talking about our health, talking about our goals, talking about our weight, especially. This can be really emotionally charged. And so it feels all the more frustrating if you're feel like you're not seeing the results that you want in the time frame that you want. So we're going to actually pull away the emotion and really talk about strategic ways to overcome challenges and barriers when they arise. So these are proven systems to make sure that you are outsmarting any barriers or challenges that come your way, and they will come your way. It is inevitable. So these are just some of the ways that I kind of run into with most people, the main reasons that people give up on their goals too soon. So I'm sure there are more than this, but these are kind of the top 9 that I encounter the most with people. So you can read through them as you'd like. I'm not going to go through them because I'm trying to save us on time, but feel free to read through these. These are like the top 9 ones for sure. And we're going to go through ways to overcome any and all of these today. So I use this picture of this kind of like track field, like stay in your lane. That would kind of be the thought process, is stay in your lane. If I just stay in my lane, I'll make sure to reach the finish line. But when we are inundated with challenges and barriers, it starts to get a little fuzzy, right? If we're not really clear about where we're going or how we're going to get there, it gets even fuzzier. We might end up in a different lane. We might end up on a different track. So I like this visual, and we're going to talk about ways to kind of take away the fuzziness and get some clarity on how to stay in your lane and make sure you reach the finish line, and usually as fast as possible, right? So we talked about this in the first live call that we did together. We talked about creating a big why statement. Why are you doing this? Why is it important to you? Who do you want to see at the end of this 9-week challenge, or at the end of this when you reach your goal? Who is that person that's going to meet you at the finish line? Who are you going to be, and how are you going to be different when you reach your goal? And using that as a really powerful way to keep you fueled to keep going. So this is obviously very based in emotion, right? Having a why statement, really feeling the emotion of why you're doing it. And that is really important, and it's valid. But what can happen with those really powerful why statements and the emotion behind them is that it doesn't really talk about the strategy on how to get there. So it's a really good way to get started. And it's a good thing to come back and revisit periodically just to get that little charge of motivation, but it can't sustain us all the way from beginning to end. There's a lot of things that can happen in the middle there where the motivation by itself is just not going to get us through. So we need to think about some more strategic ways to get there in addition to a powerful why statement. So ditching the all or nothing mindset, this is really important because in society today, big statement, but in society today, we're taught that you can't mess up. You have to be perfect in order for you to see results. And the studies just don't support that. Missing one workout or having one quote unquote bad meal or cheat meal or whatever, it's not going to derail your progress. In the grand scheme of things, that one thing is just not going to make that much of a difference. Similarly, missing our I don't know where I was going with that, but basically one thing that you do wrong is not going to derail you. On the opposite side of that, doing one thing right isn't necessarily going to be the make or break. It's not going to be like I do one workout and automatically know my result, but it can move us a little bit closer to our goal, right? So it could hurt, could help, can't hurt is the way I kind of think about it. So if you're kind of falling into that all or nothing mindset, you're finding yourself falling into that all or nothing mindset, I want you to remember the flat tire analogy. And that basically says that if you were driving down the road and you had a flat tire, you have to pull over. If we were to treat that one flat tire like we do most of our health and fitness goals, we would think, I have one flat tire, give up, let me slash the other 3 tires, right? But the reality is a lot different. In reality, what would we do if we had a flat tire? We would fix the one tire and we'd get back in our car and we would keep moving forward to our destination, right? So why do we treat our behaviors and our health and our fitness the same? Why don't we treat them the same way as we do the flat tire analogy? Why don't we just fix the one thing that might have gone wrong and then keep moving forward? So don't slash the other 3 tires. on your health and fitness goals is my point. So try to get out of that mindset of like, I have to give up when one thing goes wrong or I've messed up or whatever. We wouldn't do that in any other situation in our life. So why do we do that to ourselves with our health and fitness? Okay. And then break it down into really small steps that feel really easy to do. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a minute, but if we're doing one tiny thing that's moving us closer to our goal every single day, it's inevitable we're going to reach our goal, right? It might take a long time, but we're going to reach it. So I want you to think about that as like, what one thing can I do today? I might not need to worry about everything, but what tiny thing can I do today that's going to move me inevitably closer to my goal? It doesn't have to do anything with motivation. I just need to do one tiny thing. Okay, make it super easy to do. We have to talk about willpower because not only do I see this a lot in a lot of your reflections, you guys talk a lot about willpower. I just need to get better at not eating junk food. I need to have stronger willpower about going to the gym. I see that a lot, and I see that a lot outside of the challenge too. So we have to talk about it. And this is based on scientific data. Okay, so willpower has been studied extensively in behavior change arenas and study, especially in more recent times. So we've been looking a lot more at willpower. And what they found is that willpower is actually a renewable resource. So we can kind of think of it like a rechargeable battery. And every day when we wake up, in most situations, we wake up with a fully charged battery. And then throughout the day, our battery gets slowly drained. And hopefully not drained completely, because that's when things start to get really difficult. It makes it really hard to say no to that thing that is tempting us, right? So things that drain our battery are stress. Stress will chip away slowly at our battery stores. And then having constant temptation will also do the same thing. So if we're constantly being inundated with temptations, eventually we're going to give up, right? And we're going to give in. And that's because our battery has been so drained that we can no longer say no. We have no willpower left. And that's when we falter. And not having enough time to recharge. So at the beginning, I said in the perfect world, like we wake up with a fully charged battery. But if we don't get enough sleep, or we are constantly stressed, we never turn those stress systems off, it's going to be really hard to recharge the battery. And then we wake up every morning with less than a fully charged battery, and we have more chance of depleting our battery and more chance of faltering. So we need to think about, how do I keep my battery as full as possible when I wake up? And then how do I lessen the depletion throughout the day? And the ways that we can do that are by getting enough sleep. So we wake up, hopefully fully rested and with a full battery, right? So our willpower is actually replenished at night. And that's when our stress systems are getting repaired, essentially, is when we sleep. So that's why sleep is really, really important. So we wake up with a fully charged battery, ready to take on the day and avoid getting the battery fully drained. We need to remove temptations, remove those opportunities to have our batteries depleted throughout the day. So if you think about it like, if you were to walk into your office and there was a box of donuts on the corner of your desk every single day, and you had to look at it all day and try and tell yourself to not have a donut all day, eventually you're gonna give in and you're gonna have a donut, right? Not to say that donuts are bad, but that's just an example. So how do we remove those temptations? How can we get that box off of your desk, move it away from you so you don't see it? How do we, like, a lot of people will try and tempt themselves. They'll try and put the thing that they don't want in front of their face all the time because they think it's making them stronger. When in reality, they're just making it harder for themselves. So until this is a habit, we need to remove those temptations. Don't try and tempt yourself, at least right now. Maybe later on when you're feeling like you have these habits established, great. But right now, let's set ourselves up for success. Set ourselves up to keep our batteries as full as possible. So that's kind of what the next bullet is, that there have actually been studies that show that you can grow your battery. And that's when we establish a habit. When you establish a habit, your battery is huge. So think about it like, here's an example, brushing your teeth. So brushing your teeth for most people is a very established habit. And so you would have to be extremely drained for you to be in a situation where you would choose not to brush your teeth, right? but it would take a lot to get to that point, much more than when the donut's in front of you. So that's because that's an established habit. And that's our goal, is to create all these behavior change habits. And when that happens, then the battery is a lot bigger. So right now, don't tempt yourself. Try and remove temptations and make it really easy for you to be successful so that you can create these habits, so that your battery is a lot bigger and it's a lot harder to drain. But especially during this challenge over these next 4 weeks, and maybe even a little bit further than that, let's do everything that we can to not let our batteries get to empty. All right, keep them as full as possible. So get enough sleep, focus on your stress management. We talked about that a little bit last week too. Go for a walk, sit quietly for 5 minutes. It's all going to help you be able to withstand those temptations that are coming up. All right. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the behavior change equation. This is a really important equation. Some of you who have been with me for a long time have heard this equation, but it's always good to have a reminder regardless. So this was actually created by a Stanford professor who studies behavior change. His name is BJ Fogg. And this is his equation. It's B equals MAT, or BMAT. That's all you have to remember, BMAT. So behavior, any behavior you want to establish or remove, is motivation plus ability plus trigger. So if any of these variables is adjusted, it's going to change our likelihood of a behavior happening. So most of the time, most people go into behavior change thinking about, how motivated am I? I'm super motivated to start this fitness routine, right? And they're relying almost 100% on the motivation to get them to the finish line. But the reality is that motivation is actually moves more like a roller coaster, up and down, up and down, and up and down. It's very unpredictable. Some days we have it, some days we don't. You guys probably know this. Some days you're super motivated to go to the gym. Some days you're super motivated to eat healthy. Some days it's just not there. And so if we're relying on motivation as our primary driver, we're not going to be successful. It's a situation set up to fail. And similarly, the next time you try and start a behavior, you're going to be less likely to want to do it because you weren't successful in the past, right? So let's try, and our goal is to eliminate motivation and focus on the other two variables to make us ensure that we're successful. So we're going to eliminate motivation. If it's there, great, that's added bonus, but we're going to pretend that it's not there and focus on ability and trigger. How do we increase our ability to do the behavior that we know that we need to do to get us to our result? How do we make it so easy that it's inevitable that we're going to do that? So I want you to think about your environment and think about, how can we design your environment to make it so easy? How do we increase the likelihood and the ability for you to do that behavior? So if we're thinking about, I need to get up really early in the morning to go to the gym, and I'm really not motivated at that time, right? How do I make sure that my ability is very high to do that? A couple of ways that we could look at it is, do I have my clothes laid out so that right when I get out of bed in the morning, my clothes are right there? Can I pack my gym bag the night before and put it right by the door, so it makes my ability much higher to grab that gym bag and be ready to go? Can I change my route to work or to home to go by the gym, so it makes my ability to turn into the driveway of the gym a lot higher? So think about your environment and ways that you can create more likelihood, higher ability that you're going to do something. Studies have shown that just simply by putting healthy food at the front of your fridge and less healthy food toward the back of your fridge, or similarly putting water at the front of your fridge and maybe sodas and juices at the back of your fridge, people tend to have a higher likelihood of drinking more water and eating healthier food. So something as simple as that, putting it right in front of your face, making your ability of grabbing those things much higher than the other things, you're going to be more successful, right? And then how do we design a trigger to ensure that it gets done? So I just already went over one, by putting it in front of your face. So every time you open the fridge door, it's right in front of your face. That's your trigger. I open the door, it's in my face, right? Or Some of you guys have heard this example from me before, but when I worked in hotel management and I worked with a team of reservations agents who were trying to drink more water, we made them their own customized cups, really cute cups that they really liked, that had their names on them, and they were really cute, that they wanted to drink water out of. That was really enticing to them. And then moreover, we designed the trigger so that every time they answered the phone to take a reservation, they would say their spiel at the beginning, their greeting, and then while the guest was relaying the information about why they were coming to stay, they would take a drink of water. And over the course of the day, they're taking a lot of reservations calls, right? So over the course of the day, they're drinking a lot of water. So we've created it so it's so mindless. They like the thing that they're drinking out of, and they have a trigger. Every time the phone rings, they answer it, they say their spiel, and they drink some water. So it becomes really habitual, right? So the best trigger is the one that's designed for you specifically. So I want you to think about this as some examples, but think about this as ways to create a trigger that works just for you. And if you need help with this, you can bring it to the community chat in the Nudge app, or write it down and remember to bring it next week to the live call and we can go through it together. I'd be happy to do that for you. But just think about this week as an opportunity to experiment and look for opportunities to increase your ability to do something, make it so easy it's inevitable, and then create a trigger that is going to ensure that you do it, right? And then the last piece to that equation, the BMAT equation that isn't on there but is important, and BJ Fogg reiterates that, is to give yourself a reward. Make sure you're rewarding yourself for doing the behavior so that you're more likely to want to do it next time. So that could be as simple as just telling yourself, good job, or giving yourself a star on the calendar. And physical things work really well. So giving yourself a physical pat on the back, I know it sounds silly, clapping for yourself, I get it, it sounds silly, but it works. It's been studied by science to work. So give yourself some positive feedback. Good job, you did that, rather than the typical thing where we're berating ourselves for not doing something. When we fail, we tell ourselves, ugh, like, let's switch it up. Let's give ourselves some positive feedback so we're more likely to want to do that thing in the future. And the last thing I wanted to leave with you is that it's really not about being perfect. I hope you guys are getting that from this challenge. This challenge is not about being perfect. You don't get rewarded for being perfect. You get rewarded for being consistent. Okay, and that's what I want you guys to think about, is these small little improvements that we're doing over time is how true transformation happens. And this is a transformation challenge. So all I'm asking for you guys to do is just think about ways that you can constantly improve and experiment and get better a little bit every single week. All right. So if you guys have questions, please bring them to the community group. Let's talk about them there, and then make sure that you're on the live call next week, and we can do some live behavior strategy, or create some triggers for you. I'd be happy to do that. All right. I'm wishing you guys success this week. Let's implement a lot of stuff. Let's look for opportunities for potential failure and use those as experiments. Like, I want you guys to look for failure, which is kind of weird, I know, but like, let's do that now while we're in this challenge, while you have me, because they're going to come up in the future, right? This is the best time for you guys to look for opportunities to fail, and let's plug those holes up so that you're successful after the challenge. All right. Wishing you success this week. I will look forward to seeing you in the group chat, and I will see you guys on the live call next Monday night, Pacific time. All right. Have a great one. Bye.